and Nicole Espinosa, and let them start on their segment with that. And we're going to run straight through without any more ads tonight. So, Pat, welcome to your show, and why don't you introduce your guest?
Oh, thanks, Tom. Good to be here again. This week, I've got Nicole Espinosa from Sherman Oaks, California. She currently rides a 2007 DRZ 400, goes by Nico Mama on ADV, and she's got several excellent ride reports on there, including a solo run she did to the Grand Canyon, which is really what got me interested in her in the first place, because I've been to the canyon and love it. Recently, she just did a Death Valley run, and she just got back last night from the Overland Expo, which we'll touch on briefly. She also has a website up featuring some products at www.ruggedrider.com. That links for that, and one of the ride reports is on the Side Stand Up's website. Nicole, welcome to Side Stand Up.
Hi, Pat, and all you enthusiasts out there. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. I'm glad you took the time to join us tonight. I like Timmer's line, Tom. He calls it the signature question. So we'll turn it over to Tom for his signature question. I stole it, Timmer.
Hey, Nicole, how are you tonight?
Doing great, Tom. How are you?
And welcome back from your ride. I hope you had a great time. We're going to hear a little bit about it, so it'll be fun. But I like to ask everybody the same thing: is when did you ride your first mini bike or motorcycle, and what was it?
You know, it wasn't until I was 29 years old, back in '93 in Santa Barbara, California, that I got my first bike. Actually, 4 months prior to that, I had just sold my reliable Honda Prelude to get an Alfa Romeo Spider convertible car.
And, my favorite cars.
A beauty, but that little beauty looked better on the back of a tow truck than it did on the street. Poor thing.
Yeah. Well, they did. But you know what? I love the old Alfa Romeo Spiders. I'm a big TR6 Triumph fan, but I love the old Spiders. I thought they were one of the sexiest little sports cars ever made. But you're right, they did tow real well.
You know, and I still have it, and it's not running.
No.
But I tell you, that's what got me into bikes, because I needed, a mode of transportation. And my roommate at the time said, you know what, let's just go buy a bike. I'll teach you how to ride. So took about $800 in cash in a brown paper bag, came home with a new Honda NX250, and that was all she wrote. I got on that little baby and off and running, and I knew things would never be the same after that.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what? If you're a real rider, and we can see, I read your blog that you are a real rider. It does happen that fast. It's a very addicting sport, and it happens very, very quickly. If you're one of those persons that you'll know right away, you got it. You're stuck here.
Away. When I was on top of just feeling the machine and the power, and being on a little nimble one too, I knew that I was going to have some fun. But that first one, though, I only rode it for a year in Santa Barbara, and then when I moved to L.A. in '94, I sold it, and then went on to having kids and came back after my sabbatical in '07 to buy my next one. So, yeah, that first one was loads of fun.
Well, great. Now it's back to you, Pat.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Nicole, there's a lot of things we want to try to touch on tonight, because I've read so much of your stuff in the last month and a half, but let's start a little bit with your riding background. I know you did a Death Valley trip this year, and in your ride report for that, you mentioned that was only your second time in the dirt, so I'm guessing you're a fairly new dual sport rider as far as getting on and off the pavement. Is the DRZ your 400 your first dual sport, and what actually got you into the dual sport riding?
I tell you, Pat, the 07 DRZ was my first dual sport, and when I did some research before buying it, and I knew it was a great entry-level dual sport, really reliable, been around a long time, but it's a tall bike, and I'm 5'6.5", so as soon as I brought that baby home, I had to lower it with some Cuba Links number 3s, and once I did that, I was raring to go, and I spent the first year or so just tootling around town and never took it in the dirt. Was building up my skills on the road, and finally I actually took a dirt class and knew I was going to ride in a Death Valley trip this year. So I was off and running in the dirt after that.
Okay. Your first major ride report that I saw anyway on ADV was just last year, and that was where you went to the Grand Canyon. I spent some time in Arizona and spent some time at the canyon. It's just a beautiful place. And I did it back then when I wasn't riding or didn't have access to a motorcycle, but that had to be a great trip on the motorcycle. And how did that trip come about for you? Was it something you'd wanted to do for a while, or what motivated you to go to the Grand Canyon?
Pat, I had never been to the Grand Canyon, and over the past couple of years, my life had taken some turns. Got a divorce, starting this new business, and really was doing some soul searching and decided to go on my first adventure ride this last October. I had a week, and I thought, you know what? I need to line up something really special for this first trip. And I started looking at Sedona, and then I said, oh, my gosh, well, Sedona's right next to the Grand Canyon. Let's do it. Let's stretch it out. I did a nice loop around the north rim of the Grand Canyon and started researching it and just started getting so excited, looked at some other threads on guys who had done this trip and got really excited and then just set off and kissed the kiddies goodbye. I have 2 children, and away I went. There goes Mom on her first little adventure ride. It was a blast.
Did you have any reservations as you were putting your plans together for this about doing a trip like this alone? And then on top of that, you were not sitting in 5-star motels. You were camping for most of this trip. So did you have any reservations about being out there alone? And what did your family think of this adventure with you out there alone?
Pat, I tell you, as a solo rider, and I love being a solo rider. That's what I do the most. And especially being a female solo rider. The first question I get asked is, aren't you scared? What if this? What if this? What if this happens? And, all the naysayers try to get you going. They give you all the stories that they've heard of. I know a friend of a friend, he died on his bike. This is what happened. You just have to block all that stuff out, and you just have to go. And I tell you, once I got on that bike and that baby was loaded, and I felt such freedom and independence and excitement. And, you're one with the road, and then you can get off-road, and you can do your camping, and you're out in nature. And for me, it just doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So when people ask me if I'm scared, I really actually am not scared, because I really feel that I feel more connected to people when I'm out on the road, being by myself. It's easier.
And I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of your people that read the ride reports that you put out there, you have some very good stories in there about the campgrounds and the people you met at the campgrounds and the interactions there, and that's a whole big part of these kind of trips, whether you do them alone or with somebody else.
Pat, for me, the 2 big things are the people that you meet and the little wrenches that get thrown in the mix, because that's all part of the adventure. And I've learned to adopt, after my Grand Canyon trip, a loose grip approach to riding and my life, actually. So rather than trying to grab it really tightly, the handlebars, and just try to control everything, you have to just loosen up, let the bike dance, do its thing in wind and in different terrain, and you'll do a lot better that way. And when you get things in your adventure that get thrown, you run out of gas, you lose a bolt, your bike falls apart, you just have to dig down deep. You can do it. There's a solution to every problem. And what's so neat is the adventure riding community is such a tightly knit group that no matter where you are, anywhere in the world, you can be in communication with these people. And I've heard of other riders, riding out to downed riders and helping them out on the spot, fixing their bikes and helping them get back on their journey in nothing flat. So it's just really an amazing industry and group to be in. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.